Just after dawn on the 6th, Admiral Spruance sent 18 scout planes to search to the west. At 06:45 hours, Ensign William Carter spotted the Mikuma and Megami, but misidentified them as a battleship and a cruiser. This identification error was caused by Megami's bow being damaged. Due to a verbal misunderstanding, his radio operator reported them not as a battleship and a cruiser, but as an aircraft carrier and a cruiser. Spruance did not fully trust the report. He wanted confirmation before committing his strike forces. Ergo, he held off launching his attack force. He instead sent float planes from 2 cruisers to verify the sighting and, if confirmed, lead bombers to the target. But at 07:30 hours, while the 2 observation planes were en route to the sighting, another SBD, flown by Ensign Roy G., dropped a message on the deck of the Enterprise with an accurate report of 2 cruisers and 2 destroyers. This only confused the situation. What were his pilots actually seeing? Were there 2 forces out there or 1? Spruance decided to err on the side of caution. He had the Hornet send her planes and held Enterprises in reserve. At 8 a.m., Hornet began to launch her aircraft. This was Seahag Ring's 3rd and final chance to strike a blow at the enemy, and he was determined to make the best of it. The attack force was comprised of 25 bombers, 14 of Ruff Johnson's Bombing 8, and 11 of Walt Rodé's Scouting 8. 8 Wildcats were sent for strafing. Returning scout plane pilots confirmed the target was a battleship, not a carrier. Spruance sent Admiral Mitcher an order that the attack force was not to waste time looking for a carrier and to bomb the battleship. The targets were only 130 miles away, so for once, fuel was not a critical issue. Once formed up, the group headed westward. At 09:30 hours, Bombing 8 Commander Ruff Johnson sighted the Japanese ships, 2 cruisers and 2 destroyers. The Japanese were apparently monitoring the frequencies as a man with an Oriental accent came on the radio saying, "Stand hope from Robert, return to base." The attempt fooled no one. Bombing 8 dove on what they thought was a battleship, but was actually the cruiser Mikuma. Scouting 8 dove on the crippled Megami, scoring 2 hits, one of them directly on top of the number 5 turret, which killed everyone inside. The other hit was on the stern by the torpedo rack. Neither bomb hit proved fatal, in no small part because of the preventative measures taken earlier. Had Megami's skipper, Captain Sohi, not jettisoned his torpedoes, the stern hit would have likely detonated them, destroying the ship. Mikuma received no direct hits. Ensign Don Adams did manage to hit the destroyer Asashio with a 500-pound bomb, but it survived. All in all, despite finding and hitting the targets, the raid was disappointing. No ships were sunk and 2 planes were lost in the attempt. Mikuma and Megami sailed on. As Hornet's attack was going on, Spruance committed the planes of Enterprise. He even sent along the last 3 TBD torpedo bombers. They bombed and strafed the ships. This raid fared somewhat better. Megami received 2 more bomb hits, but the as of yet unscathed Mikuma was hit 5 times, with 1 bomb reportedly going down her stack. The Hornet Air Group was rearmed and sent out for another strike. The hapless cruisers were being effectively tag-teamed by the two aircraft carriers, but Stanhope Ring did not go on this mission for reasons that are still debated. The Hornet Air Group put another bomb in Mogami and strafed the destroyers. They did not waste bombs on the obviously doomed Mukuma. The pilots of Enterprise were pleading with Admiral Spruance to let them go back out, but Spruance was not convinced of the wisdom of such actions. His fleet was getting near Japanese land-based air cover, and nightfall was approaching. He did send 2 more scout planes to check on the Japanese ships. They reported a sinking cruiser. When they landed back on the Enterprise, they had completed the last significant air operation of the Battle of Midway. One of the highest honors the American Navy can pay an individual is to make them the namesake of a warship. Over 40 ships would be named for men who fought in the Battle of Midway. At least 35 of them were named for men who died there. Fully half of that number were torpedo plane crews. These were among the nation's finest, men who volunteered to challenge sky and sea as well as the enemy. They flew into the breach at full throttle without hesitation or complaint. In a sky that rained the blood of heroes, these men did nothing less than help to shape the world we live in to this very day. Many fell to the expert hands of a dedicated enemy. Others were simply swallowed up by an indifferent ocean, and they would not be the last. The cost in human capital and unrealized potential can never be truly known. What is known is that men like these held the line in the darkest of hours.